Hey, how y'all doing out there? Hope everybody's good. And if you're not good, I hope everything works out for the good. Today, I want to say welcome to another episode with Speak Life, Shine Bright. I'm your host, Kurt, and we outside. We pulled up outside, baby. We outside for real, you know what I mean? And I'm just thankful to be recording this episode out here in Brooklyn. You know what I mean? Brooklyn, this is where I'm from, the greatest city in the world. Also in the Bed-Stuy area. And the reason why I chose this specific area to do the recording of this episode, where we're going to talk about dissecting, supervising, and managing your mental health, is because I feel this mural of ODB, I felt a connection to it. ODB, when in the song The Brooklyn Zoo, he talked about up in the G building taking all types of medicine. And I'm like, wow, ODB was in the G building? I was in the G building. Then I also came across, God bless his soul, he passed in 2004 from drug overdose, they said. And I'm also feel a connection to the son of Sam. He also was evaluated after being captured in the G building. Son of Sam was a serial killer back in the late 70s here in New York, terrorizing. He had the whole 5 boroughs shook, paranoid, scared, in fear of when this son of Sam killer is going to pop up next, where is he going to pop up next, and who will be his next victim. One man. And he said he had voices. His neighbor dog was telling him to kill people and all kind of different satanic different things he was talking about. And ODB, I believe, when he was young, they was trying to, you a hyper teenager, and they trying to calm you down, so they send you to the G building to get evaluated. They try to put you on medication. But we know after he stated that, I guess he got a record deal. He had some success in the music industry. And unfortunately, he ended up passing at the age of 35 from drug overdose a couple of weeks before his 36th birthday. So that's why I chose this background. And so we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about dissecting, supervising, and managing your mental health. Now, in the 7th grade, I went to IS 390. It's right across the street from Albany Projects where we lived at, so it was right there. And I remember in science class, we dissected a guinea pig. We also dissected a frog, and you dissect each part of it, and it has so many different parts. Each part's work for this and work for that. So I think the same thing we have to do is first, let's dissect the mental health disorders. Okay, I'm getting this from the Pasadena Villa website. The 10 most common mental disorders. First, we got to say a mental health disorder can affect people of every sex, age, gender, ethnicity, or socioeconomic group. Disorders can range from mild to severe, and like any medical condition, many factors can trigger illnesses. Those with mental disorder struggle to cope with everyday life because of their altered thinking, moods, or behavior. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, more than 50% of individuals will be diagnosed with a mental illness in their lifetime. While there are many mental health disorders, some are more common than others. Below are 10 of the most common mental illnesses affecting American adults. So let's get into it. Number 1 is Autism spectrum disorder. General disorders of the autism include autistic disorder, Asperger's syndrome, and epithelial autism, pervasive development disorder, not otherwise specified. Bear with my pronunciation. Schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is a serious mental illness that can cause people to have delusions, hallucinate, or show no emotion at all. Individuals with schizophrenia can have difficulty thinking clearly, managing emotions, making decisions, and relating to others. Although the disorder can occur at any age, the average onset tends to be in the late teens and early 20s for men and late 20s to early 30s for women. Bipolar disorder. Bipolar disorder is one of several mood disorders that lead people with emotions swinging from very high to hazardously low depressive. The extremes are so severe that they can damage relationships, result in poor academic or work performance, and possibly lead to suicide. It is estimated that 2.6% of the U.S. population is diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and over 83% of those cases are severe. Most people with bipolar disorders are diagnosed by age 25. Obsessive-Compulsive Disorder, OCD, is characterized by repetitive, unwanted obsessions and irrational, excessive urges of certain actions. Individuals with OCD will often see symptoms in childhood, adolescence, or young adulthood. Typically, symptoms will last more than an hour each day and will interfere with daily functioning. Anxiety disorders. Anxiety disorders are the most common mental health condition in the U.S. and can include OCD, panic attacks, and phobias. It is estimated that 40 million adults have an anxiety disorder. We all have anxiety at some point in our lives, but when feeling of intense fear and distress limit daily functioning, an anxiety disorder may be present. Phobias. Anxiety disorder also come in the form of phobias. Social anxiety disorder or social phobia occurs when everyday situations cause someone to become self-conscious and anxious. They spend days anxious. They spend days and weeks worrying about a single situation. As with panic disorder, social anxiety can lead to agoraphobia, sometimes causing the sufferers to become so overwhelmed with fear that they avoid activities or even leaving their home. Substance use disorder. Mental health disorders and substance use disorders can co-occur, making treatment for both disorders necessary. More than 1 in 4 adults with a serious mental health issues, such as anxiety, depression, schizophrenia, and personality disorders, also have substance use disorder. Individuals with a dual diagnosis must receive treatment for both issues. Number 8, eating disorders. Bulimia, anorexia, nervosa, and binge eating disorder are marked by extreme behaviors, which usually are rooted in complex biological and physiological causes, including depression and anxiety. Personality disorders. Common disorders include antisocial personality disorder, avoidant personality disorder, and borderline personality disorder. And number 10, mood disorders. Mood disorders have varying degrees of severity and can be difficult to diagnose. However, they are the most frequently diagnosed mental disorders. In addition to bipolar disorder, mood disorders include major depressive disorder and stomach disorder. Major depression is a debilitating illness that usually reoccurs throughout a person's lifetime. Symptoms include fatigue, lack of focus, changes in appetite, and thoughts of suicide. People with dysthymia have symptoms that are less severe but longer lasting for periods of at least 2 years. Other forms of depression include seasonal affective disorder and postpartum depression. One thing they didn't list in this that I see is the PTSD. PTSD is post-traumatic stress disorder, and I believe a lot of people suffer with that. Description: a disorder in which a person has difficulty recovering after experiencing or witnessing a terrifying event. The condition may last months or years, with triggers that can bring back memories of the trauma accompanied by intense emotional and physical reactions. Symptoms may include nightmares or unwanted memories of the trauma, avoidance of situations that bring back memories of the trauma, heightened reactions, anxiety or depressed mood. Treatment includes different types of trauma-focused psychotherapy, as well as medications to manage symptoms. So there we go. We broke down a list of about 11 mental disorders, the most common mental disorders. Okay? So we dissected it. Now we have to supervise it. If you suffer, how do you know you suffer with these mental disorders? You know yourself better than anybody. But some people might bring it to your attention. Like, hey, man, one minute you could be this way, next minute you could be that way, you know? You can even see that if it's a car accident, and every time you see a car accident or you get in a car and you've been in a car accident that almost took your life away, it could trigger that post-trauma, what it says, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. It comes up that this is bothering you, and now you're having anxiety attacks, and you don't want to get in the car, or you're just in fear. You might tremble, you might shake, you might scream out loud, or it just might be a bad experience. So you dissect, you know the order, now you supervising. What orders do I have? What mental disorders do I suffer with? You have to be honest with yourself. In order to be the best you first have to be honest with yourself. So I know I suffered with post-traumatic stress disorder from being molested, from seeing my mom die in front of me with cancer, from seeing my friend CH murdered right there in front of me. His last words was to me, Kurt, I'm stressed out. That's what he told me before he passed. That was his last words I remember. That being shot, all kind of growing up in the hood, seeing all kind of just the violence and murdering, and every time you cut on the news, all this build up to post-traumatic stress. What's up, brother? How you doing? Post-traumatic stress, you know, and recently I had to remove every single person that's on my Facebook page that's connected to the person who molested me when I was 4 years old. I had to remove them because every time they came up, they might share a picture or a photo, and I think I'm gonna have to do that again because it was 2 people, and I might have to remove everybody because I don't want to be connected, especially on my social media, to anybody who's brought me that kind of harm or bring back those memories. So I'm supervising my mental health, and now we have to do something about it. Okay, you suffer with bipolarness, you suffer with obsessive-compulsive disorder, you suffer with PTSD, whatever you suffer with, you're honest, you dissected all the orders, you know what you're suffering with, and now it's time to get help so you can manage. Some people completely rise above and are healed from these things, but some people have to manage it throughout their lifetime, especially when you talk about PTSD. Those are things you have to manage to protect yourself. I don't want to be around the people who molested me. I forgave them. I don't want to be around the people who brought me harm. I forgive them, but I don't want to bring those memories back because it's trauma. And shout out to Dr. Eric Anderson up in Boston. When I was going through my divorce recently, I needed someone to talk to because all the things in the past was coming up, including me going through the divorce. So when I was driving, I used to get a lot of chest pains, and I felt like I was about to have a heart attack. So what I do, he told me, you lean over, you breathe, and you calm down. Or you think, you close your eyes, and you listen. You can hear a plane going above you. You can hear traffic. You can hear siren. You bring yourself back wherever your mental is trying to take you. You bring yourself back by breathing, by listening to what's around you, and bring yourself back into where you belong instead of the memories and everything pulling you away. Because mental health is a very serious thing, And I had to get counseling. I did my best to surround myself with strong individuals who have been through certain things and have made it through. So that's my advice to you. We dissected the most common mental disorders. We're supervising it to see what we suffer with. Now that we know what we suffer with, we get help so we can learn how to manage it. My help was counseling. I went to church. That was very having a spiritual connection. I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. I believe in the higher power. I believe in whatever you sow, you shall reap. I believe in doing good to others so others can do good unto you. I believe in just doing right. I choose to do right. I can be out here doing wrong and don't care about my mental and using it as a crutch through life. Like, this is the reason why I did this, because I've been through this, but I choose not to. Okay? So now church was key. And also, when I had my first child in 2006, I had my daughter. Now I have something to live for. You know, I thought about suicide. I was depressed living in Brownsville, Pennsylvania. I was down. I walked across a bridge. I heard a voice saying, jump off the bridge. So that's schizophrenia. I heard a voice saying, you're better off dead than alive. But I fought against those voices, and I'm still here, you know. ODB, he said he heard voices. He said in an interview, they asked him about Tupac and Biggie passing away, and he said, they're not dead. He said they came and speak to me. Now, people say, oh, he's crazy, he's this. I can't call him crazy. Sometimes you don't know what people hear. You don't know people who have been through things in their childhood. You don't know what it affects and what kind of consciousness it creates. So I can't say what you heard or what you didn't hear. All I can say, let's learn. We learn from others past that we have to learn how to manage it. I took the time to manage my mental health. I took the time to seek counseling. I took the time to better myself because I want to speak life and I want to shine bright. So I had to take the time. I can't help the next person if I haven't learned how to help myself. So I had to really dig deep. I don't believe ODB took the time out. I don't know if he had the time. You know, you're dealing with being in and out of court, you know, child support, the record labels not sending you the money, all kind of different things. It'll just push you, you know. And what do it push you to? Drug abuse, substance abuse. And sometimes you get a bad batch, and it can happen to anybody, you know. But the brother, the kind of success he was able to achieve, that's why I love ODB for the kind of success that he achieved in his short period of his life. I mean, he made songs with Mariah Carey. He's one of the co-founders of the Wu-Tang Clan, which is, to me, the best rap group in history. Very conscious brothers. When you listen to the lyrics and you dig deep, you be like, wow, these brothers, they know some stuff, you know. But I believe, like I said, he didn't have the time to manage, you know, hearing them voices. I heard the same voices, you know, being in the same place, the G building, getting that evaluation of after I got molested. It was a court order, and it was proven that I got molested. Then they also said I used to talk about guns and killing people. So they really had to work on my mental at a young age. And if it wasn't for that, my parents and the people I grew up around, I wouldn't be here today to speak life and shine bright and bring you guys this message about dissecting your mental health, supervising your mental health, to being able to manage your mental health. That's what it's about. It said 50% of Americans, we just read it, will suffer from some kind of mental illness. 50%. There is 365 million people in America. So that means 180 million will be diagnosed. It could be more. Some people don't want to get diagnosed. Some people don't want to recognize that they suffer with issues. Some people just want to live their life. They don't want nobody to counsel them. They don't want nobody to tell them nothing. So, but on record and documentation, they say 50% will be diagnosed. So we have to dissect the mental disorder. We have to supervise it to know what we suffer with personally. And then we have to get help to learn how to manage it. It's not always counseling. Like I said, it could be a friend that you know that been through, like what I've been through. Lost a mom to cancer, been molested, been shot, been this, been that, you know. But somehow I figured it out. Somehow I took that time for myself. I suffered financially, probably. I suffered in relationship probably with my kids. They wouldn't understand what daddy had to go through to maintain my mental, to one day to speak life and to shine bright. Right here on the streets of New York. Right here, everywhere I go. Every person I come in contact with, I want to encourage that if I can do it, you can do it. It's not just the month of May. We got to do this every day. It's an everyday thing. You know, you got to play that music that puts you in a good mood. You got to surround yourself with people that's uplifting, that could put you in a good mood. That ain't gonna beat you down and say, "Oh man, you crazy? You heard voices? Oh man, you thought about suicide?" Yeah, I thought about suicide, but I didn't blow my brains out. And if I stay around somebody like you, I might end up blowing your brains out and then blowing my brains out. So you don't want to be with people that's gonna beat your mental health up. I was watching like different interviews with ODB. I always heard them saying, "Yo, he crazy. Oh, dog crazy, dog crazy, dog crazy." I'm like, man, you just keep hearing that since from a kid. You know what I mean? And you grow up into that. You like, man, everybody keep calling me crazy. I'm doing my best to manage. That's why when they said substance abuse, I started abusing marijuana. I got 1,000 thoughts coming to my mind. I'm trying to and good thoughts too, and bad thoughts, but most good. And I'm trying to control them, slowing down so I wouldn't lose my mind. So I started smoking a little bit of marijuana. Then I realized, like, I don't need that. I can learn how to manage it without anything. So I got the control over that. You know, I was addicted to porn. When you get molested, and that's what the person had on, you could go that direction. So porn came into my life. My parents would leave me at home, and I would put every video in the tape player, and I found the porn. So I'm addicted to porn. I got rid of that. Addicted to marijuana. I got rid of that. I was thinking suicidal thoughts. No more suicidal thoughts. The thoughts, the 1,000 thoughts that's coming to my brain and good ideas, I learned how to control them and write and release. And through this podcast, it's like a therapy as well. It helps me, you know. So I learned and I took the time out. The key is life happens. Everything moves so fast. We don't take the time out for our mental health. So I encourage everybody out there today, take the time to dissect, to supervise, and to manage your mental health. If you don't do it for yourself, if you don't do it and it gets very severe, somebody else will do it for you. And I would hate to say you might end up in a straitjacket and being fed medication and in some mental institute and can't get out. Nobody wants to visit you because they saying you crazy or this or that. So we have to learn how to do it for ourselves. We can get the help to learn how to do it better and to overcome. We can get the advice and hear the stories of people who have overcome suicidal thoughts, who have overcome drug addiction, who have overcome PTSD, and learn how to manage it the right way. We can look to them for encouragement. But if we don't pick ourselves up every single day and do the things to learn how to manage our mental health, we won't make it. We'll be. The drugs would take us out. Suicide would take us out, you know? So before these things even reach to that severity, dissect, supervise, and manage. We go to work, we let people manage us, right? If you work a job, you have a supervisor, you have a manager. They tell you what to do. They tell you this, they tell you that. And if we don't listen, you're not going to keep that job. So the same way we listen to the supervisor, the manager, or the owner of a company to do that specific job they're asking us to do for their company, and then we're getting paid an hourly wage or a salary wage for our work. It's the same way we have to manage our own mental health. You have to talk to yourself. Say, hey man, I'm not gonna kill myself. I want to live. I have something to live for. I got my kids to live for. I got people who look up to me. They say I'm encouraging to them. I got something to live for. Bam, suicide thoughts out the way, you know? If I got to get rid of all these people on my social media that is connected to people that brought me pain, I'll do it. I don't care if they talk about me. I don't care what they say. I don't care what they think. It's about me maintaining my mental health. They didn't have to go through what I had to go through. And if they had to do it for me, I would do it to get me off their page because I'm connected to somebody who hurt them. I would respect that person. I wouldn't down that person. I wouldn't look at that person different. I would encourage that person, hey, it's all good. Long as I got love for you and we ain't gonna just walk past each other in the middle of the streets, hey, do what you gotta do for your mental health. You know? I don't have all my marbles. I don't have all my screws. But whatever I have left, I'm going to tighten them. And I'm going to be sharper than ever so I can continue to speak life and shine bright. Thank God for my mother. Thank God for my father. Thank God for the people who has been uplifting to me and encouraging to me. Because that's how I was able to rise above all these mental disorders that try to take me out from getting to my destiny. That's going to try to come in the way of my destiny. But once you make it over the toughest thing you've been through, once you make it over that, whoo, everything else becomes easier. Once you can make it, sometimes the little things we let grow and become bigger than the biggest thing you've been through. But get past the biggest thing you've been through, and everything else will be easier to get through. So let's dissect, let's supervise, and let's manage our mental health to be productive individuals and live the best life that we never thought that we could live, that people say that we couldn't live because we've been through this, because we've been through that, because this one said we'll never be this one said we'll never be that. People say you're crazy. People say you're going to be a failure. People say you're going to be this, you're going to be that. You don't have to be where anybody tell you to be. You can be what you desire to be, what you're destined to be. Be encouraged. Be encouraged. Dissect, supervise, and manage your mental health. And I'm always here as well. If anybody want to reach out to me to talk about anything they suffering with mental, I could be a listening ear. If you would like me to talk and give my mental advice, I can do that as well. Whatever it takes. If I can help somebody today, I'm all for it. So I want to say thank you for taking the time out to listen to this podcast episode of Dissect, Supervise, and Managing Your Mental Health. I just want to say stay continued. We're going to have a lot of topics coming up this month. You know, I'm going to get some guests on. We're going to talk about gun violence. We're going to talk about having a good summer. We're going to talk about getting to locations where you can relax and where you find your peace of mind. We're going to be talking about all kind of different things. We're going to dig into what's going on in the sports world. I'm going to bring some sports analysts on here. We're going to talk about the playoffs and how my Brooklyn Nets is getting ready to win the championship and how the Knicks didn't make the playoffs for, I think, about 11 seasons or whatever, and they made the playoffs, but they just got kicked out. They just lost to the Atlanta Hawks. So we're going to get into so many different topics this month, and I'm going to bring y'all the content, and soon I'm going to officially launch the podcast as well. I haven't officially launched it in the way I want it to, but everything happens in time. 3 years, I printed a business card, and it said podcast. It was blank. I didn't know the name. And it said, to whom much is given, much is required. Now, 3 years later, I'm finally digging deep into it. I thank y'all for listening. I thank y'all for all the support. And we're going to keep coming with more episodes and great content and things that to uplift and inspire all. Thank you so much. Enjoy your weekend.